Hi, welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And today's episode is brought to you by Fairhaven Health. With the Milky's milk tray, you can freeze your breast milk into 1 ounce sticks so that you can thaw just the right amount of milk for each feed. And today's episode is also brought to you by Nursing Queen. Nursing Queen offers stylish nursing clothes that will make your life easier and that you'll want to wear long after your nursing days are over. But first, Dianne has our review of the week.
Okay, our review of the week this week is from Mama H 2018, and it's called Nursing to Sleep. As you remember, we did an episode on nursing to sleep not that long ago.
Yeah.
Yes, so much yes. My 5-month-old needs me. Why is that a bad thing? I won't stop nursing to sleep, and I won't apologize for it either. Also, I tell every nursing mom I know about this podcast. It validates the struggles, small successes, and forms a beautiful community of nursing mamas. Thank you, thank you. So thank you so much, Mama H, for your...
That's so...
I know, it's so cool.
That's so cool. It's so cool to think of this as having a community.
I know.
Like there's a whole community here. That's so cool.
Really is. I love it. And if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely check it out because it is a good one. And don't forget to send us a review. Keep sending us reviews. You can be our review of the week. We love to hear your feedback on the podcast and any ideas you might have too. And what are we going to talk about today? What do we got?
Well, so this week is you are going to help us through, I guess, really the phases of breastfeeding, right? I mean, we're going to be talking about the changes after the first month of breastfeeding.
Yes.
So, right? So there's a lot of changes. I mean, isn't breastfeeding the same? Like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? It's all the same,
it's all
right?
The same. Don't expect any changes whatsoever. The podcast is over. No, there is so much. Like it always feels like once you think you're getting into like a routine that it changes.
Oh, that is so annoying. That is really one of the most frustrating things about parenting. I remember in the beginning, and we're not even starting talking yet, and I have an aside. I remember just being like, oh my God, it's so hard. It's so hard. And people would be like, oh, well, just wait. It gets easier. It gets easier around 3 months. Oh, it gets easier around 6 months. It gets easier around 9 months until I realized they're all freaking liars. Like it's not. It doesn't. Like it's not. You know what it does?
It is
like, if you're sick of the phase you're in right now, don't worry. Because you'll be in something new in just a second. And it's not going to be all that easier. It's still going to be hard. It's going to be hard when they're 5 and 10 and 20. You know, it's just, it'll be different.
Yeah, it's just a different challenge. That's all. It's just a different challenge. And what we're going to talk about, though, is like you bring these babies home and you kind of get into this like, you know, culture shock, deer in the headlights kind of phase that you're like, what the hell just happened? And then you're like, okay, we get into it. And then things start to change. And then we question because we still aren't really like all that confident in what we're doing yet because we're only a month in, right? Or a couple weeks in, 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in. And now all of a sudden stuff is like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
And it could be that nothing was working up until now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it could be that you're struggling big time and now things start to change and like you haven't even gotten your feet under your body yet.
Absolutely. You're still recovering. I mean, it's just like, it could be that, you know, none of it's even feeding related. It's completely has to do with other things, but you question the feeding because we always question the feeding. So we are going to talk about a few of these little things that can kind of come up that you might be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that was a thing, that was going to happen, that's why my baby was behaving like that or whatever. So these are kind of like changes that happen probably anywhere from like 2 weeks into the first, after the first month. When it comes to breastfeeding, like your breasts are going to start feeling less full. And I think that's one of the biggest ones because
It's such a huge thing.
It's so huge. Your milk comes in and you're feeling full and the baby feeds and it fills right back in and you're just like, you're kind of uncomfortable. But you get used to that, like you kind of get used to that fullness. And then after a few weeks, your body starts to adapt to what the baby is telling it. And now you don't feel as full anymore.
I feel like that engorgement is like a visual and a physical sensation validation that there's milk in there and that things are working. And when that goes away, when you don't have that visual or that physical feeling anymore, it's like there's no way to actually know that it's still working, because we don't have that anymore. We don't really have that just kind of that trust, that just that faith, that kind of just instinct that things are going, because we're so separated from like the natural world and breastfeeding, and we don't see it and all of these things. And so that goes away and you're like, oh my God, there's nothing in there. That's why they're fussy.
It's like you feel like the milk is gone.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it's not.
That's so scary. And you freak out. It's like the only thing you can do is go, oh my God, my body doesn't work. My baby's not getting enough. It's terrifying.
You don't know what you did to make that happen. It's like you woke up and it was like that, But this is normal. Like your body's adapting. You're not supposed to walk around full and uncomfortable for the entire duration of your breastfeeding relationship with your baby. You're supposed to be like, your body's supposed to adapt. I think, and I know like obviously every story is different, but I remember being in my pre-pregnancy bras by like 6 months with the twins and still had, was making plenty of milk to feed these babies for however much longer I fed them for. But it's just like your body just adapts, it just kind of like you stop feeling so full and it's supposed to do that.
Yeah, it's supposed to do that. You're not supposed to feel engorged for much longer than a month. Like that would be unusual.
Right. I mean, if the baby goes a long span of like all of a sudden the baby sleeps 5 hours or something, then yes, you're going to be.
Sure.
But during the day when the baby's eating frequently, you shouldn't be feeling that fullness all the time. Like you should be more comfortable. And that's what people start to freak out. They get used to that full feeling and then all of a sudden they're not feeling that full anymore. Now, one of the other things that happens is the baby starts to become a more efficient feeder. So here you had this baby in the beginning that was taking a long time and that was like really slow feeding and was taking, half an hour to eat. And now all of a sudden they're taking 10, 15 minutes maybe. And that's when I'll get calls and moms will be like, the baby's not eating for very long. Something must be wrong. Either maybe there's not enough milk there. Maybe the letdown's not good enough. Maybe, whatever people are plugging into our brains about what could be wrong. But your baby's becoming more efficient and they're supposed to feed in a decent amount of time like that. They're not supposed to stay on the breast and feed for, 45 minutes. They can hang out there if you're fine with that, that's fine for them to comfort nurse and all that stuff. But for them to like nurse and like feed and get their feeding done and over with, it shouldn't be 45 minutes. Like that will cause a problem with your milk supply too.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember like in the beginning when they just wanted to they just live constantly like there at your
breast. That's the only place they want to be.
Like my husband would leave for work in the morning and I've told the story before, like I would just be sitting on the couch and he would hand me the remote, like bring me a bunch of stuff. And like I knew all the shows that were on at like 7, 8, 9. I would just go through them all. And like he would come home and he'd be like, have you moved? And I'm like, not really.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Like he would just be on my breast the whole day. And then it would start, it's like, oh my God, this is so hard. And it is. It's so hard. It's so hard. But then they're kind of eating quicker and then they're looking around and then pretty soon they're crawling and then they're walking and then, oh my God. Then it's,
then they're married.
That's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah. Then they're married and having their own children. But it's different.
Right.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It's just, it doesn't stay that way. And it feels like you're going to be trapped under this baby forever. It feels like that. It's like, oh my God, this baby is it's all they're going to do. All they're ever going to do is just lay here.
Yeah. It feels so unrewarding, doesn't it? At that point of the game?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I just want to pee.
know.
And you're like, oh my God, but do I dare? Do I dare
I know. Well,
wake this baby just to go to the bathroom?
no way.
I remember one time when Jack, I think Jack was sick or something, and I had him on my chest, and I just like leaned back the recliner, and I was like, this is where I'm going to be. And I had to pee, and I was like, Josh, get me a diaper. I'm like, I am not moving. And FYI, for all of you out there, diapers do not hold adult pees.
That's good to know.
They don't hold all of it. You can switch it out maybe.
That's good to know.
It doesn't hold the whole thing.
If you switch it out, like, you definitely would have to be able to have a pretty good pelvic floor, I think. Wouldn't you?
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, I guess. If you can, like, stop the flow of pee, you mean? Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, I suppose early on that would be pretty hard to do.
Yeah. But, you know, if you still have some of those really huge pads from the hospital, then...
Yeah.
Those mammoth pads that you'll never use in your life again.
Yeah. Is that what I mean? You know, you see these memes on Facebook, like, you know, a mom, you know, a breastfeeder is like trapped under the baby, and it's like, you know, oh, my phone is just out of reach, or the remote is just out of reach, or my water
snacks.
is just out of reach. It's like, right. It's all real. That is all so real.
Absolutely. And then they start to feed a little bit faster and get done, and you're like, what's going on here? Why don't you want to stay with me for longer?
Yeah.
I don't understand. You know, it's
right. And there, like you said, there's that panic, like, uh-oh, it must be empty. They must not be getting enough.
Yep. But nope, it's fine. Your baby's just evolving. They're becoming more efficient. That's what we want. You know, we want it to get like that. One of the next things is that you might start pumping. Depending on your lifestyle, depending on when or if you have to return to work, what's going on, you know, in your schedule, whatever, you might need to start pumping at that point. And that's always like so much anxiety around that. When do I pump? How do I pump? How long do I pump for? Is it going to take milk from the baby? What time of day do I pump? If I'm feeding the baby 12 times a day, how am I going to pump in between? Like, there's so much anxiety around pumping. And that just adds another layer to what you're already trying to figure out on top of it. So don't hesitate. Like, if you really are concerned about how to fit pumping into your routine, and you're really, you know, it's bringing you enough anxiety that you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I have to go back to work in, 6 weeks, and I'm not sure what to do. Like, call a lactation consultant. They can walk you through it. They can talk to you about it. They can make a plan with you. I do this all the time with people, and really kind of make it not seem so daunting, because that really can, like, I have moms where they are worrying about pumping to go back to work, and the baby is a week old, and they're not going back for 4 months, but that is in their head, and it's like, you want to be able to try to enjoy your baby. So that might be creeping up on people too. Usually in that first month or so, they're really starting to think heavily on that. Somebody else wants to feed the baby. So they're, like, should I pump? What should I do? What kind of bottle do I use? How much do I put in that bottle? It's just so many questions around it.
Yeah. And so I think that we should be clear that if you are not going back to work, you don't have to pump. Mm-mm. If you're not, pumping is not essential to breastfeeding. Pumping is simply if you're going to be spending time away from your baby,
right?
Working, whatever. If you're separated from your baby and they need to feed during that time, then you would pump. But people think like, oh, I'm having a baby. Oh, I need a pump. That's not an automatic thing. You do not need to be pumping in order to maintain your milk supply. That's what your baby's for.
I mean, yeah, if you do not have any, big plans to return to work full time, then I try to talk people out of it all the time. It's like, if we don't have to, like, I don't understand why people are doing it if they don't really need to,
because people think they have to, because it's just part of this, like, it's like, I feel like we live in a culture where there's so much product.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, here's a product that I need, but you actually don't need all of this stuff in order to be successful at breastfeeding or parenting in general.
Not at all. And you're right, though. People will ask me, when do I start pumping? Don't I have to pump to maintain my supply? No.
Well, that's the thing, too, is that people just automatically think, because of our culture or whatever, that you need to be pumping the milk in order to maintain that supply. I mean, I think that's a really, really common thought.
And you do not have to.
And you don't.
And if it's...
But some of you will. Because you have to work.
If you have to work.
And, that's...
And then, I do have people where situations come up where maybe you have to travel, or you have a wedding and you need to, be away for the day or whatever. Like you said, if you're away from your baby, then you do need to pump. We need to work that out. And it's not something that they're going to do regularly. So the logistics of that is really throwing them for a loop, because they're not even sure, like, how do I do this? What happens? How do I put my pump together? What setting do I put it on? I'm not sure. So there is a lot around pumping that really brings people so many questions. But if you don't have to, oh my gosh, don't do it. If you really don't have to, if you really don't need to, then try to give yourself a break from it.
Skip it.
Exactly.
How about we take a break for a word from our sponsor?
Would love it.
Today's episode is brought to you by Fairhaven Health. With the Milky's milk trays, you can make the chore of pumping and storing breast milk easier. The milk trays look like regular ice cube trays, but actually have 16 semi-cylinder cavities that each hold 1 ounce of breast milk. Your milk is frozen into 1 ounce sticks. The milk sticks fit through all bottle openings and allow you to thaw just the right amount of milk for each feeding, so you are not wasting even a drop of your precious liquid gold. The milk trays come with lids that protect your milk while it freezes and allow for stacking to free up space in your freezer. Once frozen, you can simply transfer the milk sticks to a freezer bag, freeing up your milk trays for more milk. Reusable, environmentally friendly, and made with food-safe plastic, the milk trays can be used for baby food later. Head to fairhavenhealth.com and use promo code BADASS for 10% off of your purchase. And today's episode is brought to you by Nursing Queen. Nursing Queen was started by a nursing mom who wanted to see more stylish options of nursing clothes, especially cute, non-clingy styles that looked great wash after wash. Because you'll be wearing those tops on repeat. Nursing Queen focuses on designs that look like regular clothes, which you'll wear long after your nursing days. They feature hidden zippers or flaps for easy, one-handed access. Nursing Queen is for the breastfeeder who appreciates great style and quality, but doesn't want to spend a fortune on nursing clothes. From cozy hoodies to dresses to wear to a baby shower or a wedding. The designs and color patterns are gorgeous, just like you. Breastfeeding and taking care of a new baby is challenging enough, and finding something great to wear shouldn't be so hard. Nursing Queen has you covered with top-rated customer service and products, and they're based in the U.S. Check out the entire Nursing Queen collection of tops, dresses, swimsuits, hoodies, and sweatshirts at nursingqueen.com. And you can use code BADASS for 10% off of your purchase. And all of our sponsors and our sponsor links and these promo codes can be found at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, along with breastfeeding resources, all of our other episodes, and information about scheduling your lactation consultation with Dianne.
Okay, so the next one is, of course, one that always throws people like over the edge, and that is pooping. The pooping may slow down.
Yeah.
And this is like, I never thought that pooping would be such a fanatical thing for people. But
oh my God. Yeah. We should do a whole episode on pooping, because people are like, wow. I remember being so freaked out by poop. I still am. I still look.
I mean,
they're like 8 and 5, and I'm still like looking like, what's it look like? What's in there? Oh my gosh, what does it mean?
What color is it?
What color is it? What's the consistency? What kind of food is in there?
it's just like we just get so obsessed with it. And then with baby poop, like, but oh my God, they didn't poop today. They pooped 3 times today. They didn't poop 3 times today. They only pooped 2 times today. What does it look like? It was a lot. It was a little bit. How much was it? Like, it really wasn't that much. I mean, there's some times where I'll be like, how much was there? I don't know. Not very much. Was it as big as like a quarter size? Well, yeah. I don't know if that's enough. I'm like, it's a baby. How big do you need it to be? You know, like, we don't need it to be a ton of poop. Like, people get so crazy with the poop. It is like, it's unbelievable. But, and this is always
we had a poop log.
Everybody does.
We had a poop log. I think I still have it. I want to find it. I'll put it on the website.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
It's like, I look at it. I can't even, I think I forgot and then found it again. And I was like, oh my God. I brought it to my husband and I was like, look. He's like, wow, we were really we were really in it.
I mean, it's just like, I don't, it's just unbelievable. Like, I can't tell you how many people send me pictures of
you
poop.
You can't not go there.
I know it. It's like, it really becomes an obsession. And I think so much of it too is because social media is like, oh my God, your baby needs to do, like, it's variable from baby to baby, first of all. It is like, it can stretch out, like in the beginning, they will poop a lot usually, and then it'll slow down, and then people freak out when it starts to slow down, and they're afraid their baby's constipated. I have people at a month that are giving their baby prune juice. That is unnecessary. Like, it really, really is. Breastfed babies don't get constipated. I mean, but everybody is different. Every baby is different. Every human is different, and we all do not poop the same. It would be ideal if we did, although we wouldn't have enough bathrooms if everybody pooped at the same time every day. But it really is just so variable. But we become obsessed with knowing how many times our baby pooped. And if they, you know, like, what are they doing? In the beginning, yes, we always, how many times did your babies poop? And, you know, whatever, because that tells us that they're feeding well. But after the first month or two, unless there's something really wrong, like it's like blowing flames out their butt or something as it's coming out, like it's
which they do sometimes.
I know it. My daughter today told my son that it smelled like his butt had exploded, but that's a whole different story. So it really, like, it's totally fine. Like, your baby can go a day or two without pooping, and it's nothing, no crisis. It really isn't. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, it changes. It's another one of those things that's just constantly changing.
One of the moms at my breastfeeding support group we have on Mondays, she's really funny. And her baby's like, I think he's about 6 months now. And he was one of those babies that we like struggled with in the very beginning, like not gaining. And it was just like constant. We just, oh my God, we worked so hard to get this baby on track. And he is now. He's perfect. But she comes in on Monday and she goes, he poops once a week on Sundays. Like, it's like clockwork on Sundays. And one of the other moms goes, isn't he like uncomfortable during the week? She goes, on Saturday night, but we know it's almost Sunday, so it's fine. Like, it's just like, you kind of get to realize, like, I have people that go, oh yeah, every third day, you know, he'll poop, and then it'll be, you know, then it'll go 3 more days, and then like, it's just, you get into this pattern and then you get used to it. But when it first starts to change, you really freak out. Like, you just,
yeah, and then when you get used to it, that'll change too.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and then you start salads, and it's a whole nother ball game. Like, don't even talk about it.
Ugh, yeah, gross.
So this next one is a good one too. Those evening fussy times. So usually, typically from what I see, this doesn't start until about 2-3 weeks. So the first 2 weeks never fails. I have people that say, oh, the baby is just, oh my gosh, just eats and sleeps and is just so content, only cries when he wants to eat, only cries when he wants his diaper changed. And then like that 2-week mark will hit, or that 3, you know, like 2-3 weeks, and they are just like a whole different baby. They're just becoming more
mad.
Yeah, like they're more aware of things that are going on. They're more overstimulated. They're, you know, like, just, it's so hard for them to just calm themselves. And evening comes and it's a freaking free-for-all, and they are screaming their heads off. And people are like, oh my God, what happened? What's wrong? Are they gassy? What's going on with them? Oh my God. But that's just something that, like, I don't know that I've ever met a baby that didn't go through this. Didn't have that really fussy
Well, and that's
period.
another thing. Right. And I think that's another milk supply thing, too. People start to get scared. There's no more milk. They're super fussy. They must be because I'm not making
and it has
milk.
nothing. The baby just wants to be on the breast all the time at night. So in the evening, they must not be like getting what they need. I don't have any milk in the evening. I hear that all the time. I don't have any milk in the evening. Like your body's like, oh, we're tapped out. We're empty.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen like that. But your baby just wants to be at the breast constantly because they want you. They're unsettled and scared and they need that comfort and they just want to be on you the whole time. They're not even hungry. It's not even a feeding thing. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, it's not even a feeding thing. You put them on the breast, they don't even eat. They just suck a couple times and go to sleep. And then you take them off and put them down and they scream. So it's like it's not a feeding thing. They just want to be connected to you. It has nothing to do with your milk supply at all.
They call it the witching hour. Like from 5 to 7 or something.
Yeah, it's totally primal. And I think we've talked about this before that in primal days, that's when you had to be most alert during those evening times because that's when predators come in. And it is very, they're very unsettled for a couple of hours in the evening. It doesn't mean they're colicky. It doesn't mean that you ate something bad. It doesn't mean any of, and those are all questions that I had today, as a matter of fact, over the witching hour. But it's just what happens. It's just what happens with them. They just get really, really fussy after that first couple weeks. I saw I saw two moms today, and both of them were right around the same kind of story. Two of the moms that I saw today were right around the same kind of thing where after that 2-week mark, they started to change and become a different baby. They're fussier. Maybe they're spitting up a little bit more. They're, a little bit more vocal about things. They're, and they're just like, oh my God, what's going on? Is the baby okay? Is there something wrong? I don't understand. It wasn't like this the first few weeks. And now he's not sleeping where he was sleeping at least a couple of hours. Now he can't settle. Now he won't lay down. I have to hold him all the time. He's unhappy. Totally normal stuff.
Whatever new comes up with your baby is going to be absolutely terrifying. It doesn't matter what it is. I remember when Jack found his ear and he just kept reaching up and pulling on his ear. And I was like, oh my God, what's wrong with him? Why does he keep doing that? Something's wrong with him. I'd be Googling it, constant pulling on ear. I was so freaked out by it. And I think I don't know, some mom I was with one time was like, oh, he found his ear. And I was like, no, oh my gosh. There's something, is wrong.
Oh, yeah.
No, then he moved on to something
I had
else.
a mom today tell me she thought...
And I'm sure I freaked out about that, too.
And I had a mom today tell me she thought her baby had died. Because I thought I killed her. Because she gave her some grape water and the baby projectile vomited. And she was like, oh my God, I didn't know, was something wrong with her? And ran her to the doctor. And they were like, no, she's fine. She's fine. But...
She just puked.
Yeah, you just get so freaked out at every little move that they make. And you just and then when it changes, you're like, oh my God, why are they doing that thing? But it's normal stuff. So kind of in line with okay, he found his ear. They do start to they start to be a little bit more, I don't want to even say social because maybe that's not the word, but those first couple of weeks, you're really they eat and then they sleep and they cry when you change their diaper. That's really kind of all you're getting out of it. Or they're laying on you. Like you said, you're trapped under this baby for, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But after a couple of weeks, they start to be awake more in between feedings. They're making more eye contact with you. It's you're actually able to interact a little bit more. So it becomes different in that way, which is really, really nice. Because it doesn't feel like you're just kind of feeding this baby and then, that's it. They have a really, really well-developed sense of smell. So if you think, oh my gosh, the baby can smell me or they can smell the milk, you're probably right. And that's one of the things you hold them and they're automatically starting to root around and, because they can smell you. They have a really, really developed sense of smell, more so than their other senses at that age too.
Yeah, because that's all. That's what they need, right? They need to be able to find the milk. That's all.
That's just it really is a very, very developed sense of smell. They are still feeding quite a bit And I think that's another thing that people don't realize is they think, oh, well, at a month, right, they should be taking more milk. They shouldn't be feeding every hour and a half or every 2 hours anymore, right? Yeah, they probably still will be. I mean, a month isn't that old. They're still pretty young at a month. It's really not that old. So they are still going to be feeding every 2 to 3 hours, or maybe even more frequently at sometimes too. If they're doing that like witching hour thing in the evening, they might give you a little bit of a longer stretch after that. Some babies do, but they're still not sleeping. Like I would not expect your baby to sleep through the night at a month. That's.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No way. I mean, I know some people report this, but no. A month? Not even, I mean, my kids did that at, I don't even know, 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Exley's 5. I'll let you know.
Or if they do, don't expect it to last, because it probably won't. It's a fluke.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, right.
They are like, their nervous system is still really immature. So you're still getting like those startle reflexes and, like all of those little things that are going on with them that is, could keep them awake, or it could wake them up. Like sometimes babies don't like to be completely swaddled, or you stop swaddling them because somebody told you shouldn't swaddle your baby anymore, which that's one of the newer things. Have you heard about that one? Anybody ask you about that?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't know. I mean, I've read both sides about the whole swaddle thing. Swaddle them, don't swaddle. I don't know.
Yeah, and
I swaddled one. I didn't swaddle the other. I don't know if there's.
I swaddled mine, and they did very well. Some people say that they don't, and they're or they swaddle with the hands out if the babies like to have their hands. But one of the reasons why we do swaddle in the beginning like that, other than them being so nice and tight and kind of closed in like they are in the womb, is that those startle reflexes. So they will wake themselves with that startle reflex. So it's called the Moro reflex. So they will they'll just be laying there, and all of a sudden they'll their nervous system, their immature nervous system will just give them a jolt, and they'll just and then they're awake. So that's still going on with them too. And they still need a lot of physical support. And this is one of the things that I run into a lot with breastfeeding and positioning. Like if moms will tell me that maybe the latch doesn't feel very good, or they're having some pain with the feeding, and the baby's a few weeks old. It's because I think we kind of figure, well, the baby gained some weight, they should be able to support the weight of their head by now, and it's they're still only a month old. They're not that old. Even if they put a pound on in that first month, they're not going to be able to support the weight of their head yet. It's just not, not enough.
Way,
yeah.
no.
So you do really have to still support them during breastfeeding so that they can sustain the latch well. And that's a really important thing to remember too, that they just can't do it on their own yet, no matter how much weight they gain in the beginning, or how big they are when they're first born. I don't care if they're 12 pounds when they're first born. They're not.
Right.
Their head's still flopping around like crazy. But
yeah,
those are kind of the big things that I see a lot, are the, especially the breast being less full, the baby's becoming more efficient, the pooping, those things are really big that I get questions about a lot in that first month.
Thanks, Diane. That was awesome.
Yeah. Glad to be a helper outer.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you. See you next week.
See you next
Bye.
week.